Welcome everyone back to the podcast. We have a special guest, which is Gwen Hallford, and with her, she's gonna give a lot of exciting tips on art and just her creative process behind it. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, Gwen. How's your day going?
Oh, it's going great.
Thank you so much for Gwen. And I did notice too. We were talking about earlier about us, both of us being introverts, and also for the people listening, that me and Gwen do go back to middle school. It's an interesting time, and we were just saying how everyone's kind of like you're mentioning branching out and doing their own thing, which is very encouraging. I noticed that you branched out and you did your own art as well, and also you did mention earlier about being in the military base, which I think is very cool because that's empowering to see that women are going in that direction and leadership. What do you feel like the military has taught you?
The military has definitely taught me a lot of confidence. I think I'm a completely different person because of it. And they really break you down just to build you up to be the perfect warrior that they need you to be. Although I was just a medic, I didn't go out there and fight people or anything like that. Um, but still, being in the military gives you a whole nother set of personality. So beneath all of the uniform and my bearing, I feel like I'm still me. I'm still really introverted and get kind of hyped up if like people are crowding me. Like, why are people talking to me? I don't want any attention. But then I don't know, there's like a gear switch and it's something that they do to you, whether it's the yelling or I don't know, but you just become stone faced and you're like, all right, this is what we need to get done. I need this, and that. And I mean, they definitely make you into a leader. No matter how low ranking you are, you automatically become a leader. You know how to follow direction, give direction, meet a time crunch. Just all these skills that you really need to
Yeah.
just be a working person and to be successful in life. So I really appreciated my time in the military, and I got out with a lot of confidence because of it.
Yeah, and I remember you saying as well that there was like a great benefit that you earned, which was the GI Bill that you were sharing. If you could give us more context into that.
Yeah, so I'm in the Air Force. I think this is with every branch, but you get the post 9/11 GI Bill after your enlistment. You have to serve at least 3 years, and they give you 36 months of completely free school. You can't pay for everything. There's a cap on it, but you can always check it out with your education center. See how much they're going to offer you per year.
Mm.
Also, I was able to finish some school while I was in. Without touching that GI Bill, they have tuition assistance for active duty members, but this is only for active duty.
Mm.
And I don't know how it is for the other branches, but in the Air Force, we get that. So we get 4,500 every fiscal year to spend on our classes. So I was able to finish my associates, and now I only need 2 more years until my bachelor's, and I'll be set. Zero student loan debt. A lot of back problems, though.
Man, I bet. And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, with you making your choice to kind of transition out of the military, what went into that? Like, why not stay longer, or like take advantage of the benefits there?
So I had a wonderful time in the military. I don't want anyone feeling discouraged, like, oh, just get in and get out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just not for everyone. And
Mm.
I felt like I was thriving. I was winning awards, getting recognized, being able to do all these things. But I feel like deep down in my core values, I really wanted to do art.
Mm.
And that's not a job you can do in
Yeah.
the military. I don't think they have that job. If they do, sign me up. No. But I mean, my unit here has been extremely supportive about my art. They actually let me do a mural on the base here.
That's dope.
Yeah, and so that's big. With military base murals, they stay here for years. And like there's some on this base that are from like the 80s or the
That's
90s. So I'm so excited to maybe come back here one day and just be like, hey, I painted that. unless they tear down the building. Hopefully not. But, I mean, it happens. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was good exposure just to put it on my artist resume that I painted a whole mural. I was commissioned. I was handpicked, and so I mean, they don't hate you for trying to do what you want to do in life. Um, they really want you to just be successful, and they were helping me out on my way out.
And I wanted to ask, I know that you are going to art school, but
Mhm.
before we get into that, I was curious because I see you are an independent artist. What challenges do you face as an independent artist? Trying to start up your own thing and just like marketing yourself, which is no easy task for anybody listening. That's actually very difficult.
Yeah. So, self marketing, I have watched a lot of YouTube on it because I had zero clue on how to do it. I am obsessed with YouTube. I watch YouTube like more
Amazing.
than my TV. I have YouTube on my TV, but yeah, I just anytime I want to learn how to do something, I just like really grind at it. And so how to promote myself, and then at the same time of promoting myself, I need to improve my content because
Mm,
I can promote myself up the butt, but like if my content is trash, no one's gonna want to stay.
that's true.
So yeah, so it's a lot of learning. It's every day being an independent artist, and I'm sure you know this. It's just every day you're just trying to figure out something new. So much planning going on, um, different planners for different things, and then it's hard when you're full time going to school and trying to
That's
market
crazy.
yourself online. But I mean, my biggest thing is just doing your own research every single day. I
Mm,
mean, you're always going to find something new. Somebody's always going to come up with a tip that you probably haven't even heard before.
yeah.
Um, every new YouTuber that I watch about marketing is just great. And also, like looking at different resources, because there's not just YouTube, but there's Skillshare.
Mm.
That's a big one. LinkedIn Learning. Have you heard of that one?
Have learned that one. There's
Yeah.
a lot of great stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So if you have LinkedIn Premium and then you just watch LinkedIn Learning, they have a whole thing about growing your business and your brand, and marketing specifically. Skillshare I use to build up my content. So as an artist, you are never just done learning. There's
Right.
always like brand new techniques coming out, especially with digital art. There's a lot of programs coming out these days, and every year it updates. So I'm I'm just constantly looking at better ways to improve my workflow, and then improve the content that I want, and then just paying attention to the trends and seeing what do people like when I post something, what's my most popular content, and then just pushing that out more. Because, I mean, I could still paint what I want to paint,
Right.
but what I want to post would be something that's more for the community rather than for myself.
Mm.
So just, you have to people please if you want to be in this business.
No,
And that's
I,
really fun to do.
no, I hear you on that. And sometimes it's like the people pleasing can go to an extreme. Like like what I noticed on your Instagram, it says no commissions. And I know that you're very busy, and you were sharing that story how you were trying to get back to somebody, but they just kept wanting edits as well. If you could share a
Mhm.
little bit about that, the whole
Yeah.
craziness of it.
So the reason I turned off commissions, one is because just my personal time.
Mm,
And then the biggest reason was I had a client who asked for a big painting. It was pretty big, and it was a traditional painting. So I was going to charge $100 for it,
okay.
um, just because like my digital prints on my shop are only like $15 minimum, because it's a little bit easier to print something out than
Yeah.
actually painting a whole canvas. It was a 20 by 20,
Wow.
and yeah, and the content of it, I'm not going to share too deep of what the content was
Right.
because it was strange, but I also don't really want to hurt those people's feelings and
Yeah, yeah. It's
put them
business.
on blast.
Yeah.
But it was just strange content. Nothing. offensive or
Yeah.
anything like that. Nothing against my values.
Yeah.
It was just something I didn't have my heart into it.
Mm.
That's another thing is when you're commissioning an artist, a lot of people don't realize this, but we can't just paint every single thing that you give us.
On paint to paint? Yeah, not
Yeah.
possible.
And we have a certain style, you know. If our style doesn't match what you want, maybe don't ask us to do it. But yeah, I wouldn't say I paint realism. I feel
Mm.
like I'm very cartoony, a lot of bright colors. And this person, I think she wanted realism. And
Ah.
yeah, so every time I gave her an update of the artwork, there would always be an edit. And then when I would give it to her and with the edits made, she'll be like, actually, I liked it the other way better. So can you just go back, do that? And I mean, I just wanted this project to be done with. I was like, I am so over this. I don't want to spend any more time. I had to be firm. I just had to put my foot down and be like, look, I I'm sorry if you're not happy with the way things are turning out. If you feel like we're just not a good match anymore, I can terminate this and then you don't have to pay me. I'll just like
Yeah.
stop, like leave me alone. Don't ever ask me for artwork again. But I think she felt bad. So she was like, actually, no, it looks fine the way it is. I'll pay you. And so, I mean, she did. I shipped it off and I kind of just like ignored that person for a while. And then after that, I just turned off commissions. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna deal with that anymore. Like, I'm not, I wouldn't say desperate, but it's just not something I want to do at the moment. So,
Mm. And what tips would you offer to people? Because you are like, it's crazy. It's almost like you're superwoman. You're going to school, you're working a new full time, and then you're also doing this to the side. And then you're also married, so you're balancing a lot of things. Like, how do you? That amazes me. How do you do that?
a lot of prioritizing,
Mm.
and my priority list is always what makes me happy,
Mm.
and I mean, what needs to get done is the second. So I put a lot of time into my marriage, and it's great because he's my biggest fan, anyways.
Aw.
So when I'm working on art, he's like, "All right, now you're doing your thing." And that's really good to have like a good support system when you're kind of doing all of these things. Because I know I'm not the only one, and I
Yeah.
mean, there's even people with like kids that are doing this, and it's like, man, that's crazy to me. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, just reaching out to people about getting support. I think I have my husband. He's like my rock, and
Mm.
if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just let him know, like, hey, I need help with this. Like, there's too much going on, and
Yeah.
then that person can give you an outside perspective and say, hey, you don't need to do that right now. Like, that's down the line. Just
Mm.
do what's important first. And sometimes you just need that reminder that not everything is happening all at the same time, even
Mm.
though it feels like it is. It's actually split up. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. And going back, what advice would you offer to introverts who want to build something like you have your own shop account as well for your art pieces? But I also noticed your YouTube channel, which is awesome with the speed painting. What would you like advice give them to come out of their shell to just put that content out there, not worry about what people think? Because I think for me personally, when I started doing this, that was behind my mind. I overthought it, like, what do they think this and this and this? But I'm like, just put it out, whether it's garbage or not, you'll improve over time. What advice would you offer to them?
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're feeling. I mean, starting all of this, I was like, oh God, people are gonna think I'm full of myself.
Mm.
Honestly, that was like my biggest fear. I was like, oh God, like I'm not that great. I don't know.
Mm.
But I don't know. Like I would think if it's something you do a lot and it's something you're passionate about, you're doing it all the time anyways.
Mm.
So why not share that passion with other people? I think like thinking about it that way, that you're just sharing with other people. You don't necessarily have to start monetizing yourself right away, um, unless you're creating something, a business that is immediately just a business.
Mm.
But if you're sharing artwork, if you're making videos, you should just do it because it's fun to you
Mm.
and because it's something you enjoy doing every day.
Mm.
Um, because if you're constantly grinding and you're not getting fulfillment out of
Yeah.
it, what is your reason? What's your point? Um, just find something you love to do, and then you're just sharing that love with other people. And I think
That's,
that's what followers like is when they can see that passion through you. They know that like, oh, this person really loves what they do. Like
mm.
that's cool. And I mean, that's what I love seeing on YouTubers or Instagram artists. Like, hey, this person just they just love to do it and they're just YouTubing it. Like that's awesome. And it feels more genuine, I think.
Yeah, I think that was super awesome what you shared is like whatever you enjoy doing, like you said, like YouTubing it, like just having the camera on there, people get to see how passionate you are about it. What would you say is like, I know it's to be like, I guess you could say it's like a big question, but do you feel like art is your purpose or do you feel like there's something more? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think art is my vessel
Mm.
and my purpose is more to spread a message, I think.
Mm.
Um, the recent contest that I won, I don't know if you saw that.
Congratulations. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah,
Very dope
thanks.
art.
Yeah, so Adobe awarded me for their Keith Haring contest and got 5K on that.
Ooh,
But
okay.
my biggest thing of why I joined the contest though was paint something that you are passionate about and that you feel is an issue in the world. Because for those that don't know Keith Haring, he was a social activist.
Oh, wow.
And in back in the 80s, he was big on the AIDS movement,
Mm.
putting awareness to AIDS and making sure like people know this is a disease and it's killing people.
Yeah.
Um, so my artwork was more on mental health,
Mm.
and the message it spread was you are more than your illness. And
Wow.
the woman showed the brain and everything, all the colors. But I really wanted to spread the message that a lot of people have this stereotype against people with mental illness. A lot of people are self-diagnosing themselves,
Yeah.
which should not happen. Just because you're sad sometimes doesn't necessarily mean you have depression. Just because you get scared doesn't mean you have anxiety. These people have real illnesses and it's like an actual chemical thing in their brain.
Yeah.
They really cannot help it.
Mm.
So, I mean, it's not an excuse to be a crappy person, but you are more than that. And sometimes you just need help along the way. And that's the message I wanted to spread. So, more with my artwork, the artwork that I submit to galleries and try to submit for public pieces are more related to mental health issues, domestic violence, some serious issues that need to be addressed, really.
Yeah, no doubt.
And the more public pieces, that's the one I put out there. Um, my Instagram's full of kind of happy,
Mm.
interesting pieces, just because that kind of just drives more content.
Mm.
But every now and then I'll put the awareness of like the phone number to the domestic violence hotline.
Mm.
And I had a portrait of that and mental health awareness, all of those. So I think art really is the vessel that I can use to spread awareness to what I'm really passionate about. So,
Wow, that was so cool, all the things you mentioned. Would you ever consider doing, I'm not sure if you would have a separate portfolio or separate art where you have all the awareness that you're raising with domestic violence, because it is a very serious thing, and the people that are not able to speak up because they are afraid or a sense of you're just not feeling safe, you're not going to share that. So I think it's very awesome that And I think you were able to paint a picture for me. I mean, speaking of art, like how you can use that to communicate. And I think that's so dope because I didn't really see it that way. It was more like I would see something like, oh, that's really dope art. But now I'm like, what is it telling me? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's great that you're able to do that. Now that gives me a different perspective, which I think is super awesome.
Yeah.
And I did want to ask, I know that you have a shop store, and I think I noticed you had an Apache. Is that a llama? Is that what it is?
Alpaca.
Oh my god, I said Apache. Okay, it's not an Indian. It's a.
Yeah.
And I saw, I was like, this is so dope. And I'm thinking, what is behind the creative process for your different art pieces? That is, whether a more joyful or more serious tone.
Yeah. I feel like that definitely represents me as a person. I'm just like putting myself out there because
Yeah.
I feel like I am a really bubbly and like just happy person in general. But then it gets down to it more serious. I'm wearing a Slipknot shirt. I'm like morbid. It's so funny. Like people will look at me like, oh, this little small thing, smiling all the time, and here I am with my like death metal.
Let's
But
go.
uh, yeah, a lot of so the alpaca is actually inspired by my little sister. She
Oh,
and she just loves llamas and alpacas. So like every time I I look at them, I'm like, oh, it's you. So I just I honestly made that print just to send her a bunch of them.
oh.
And I think people liked it, so then I, I just put it up there. Um, some of my artworks are inside jokes with people. I have a print on there that says "Die, Cry, Hate," and that was like one of my more morbid pieces. And it's the opposite of "Live, Laugh, Love," so that is why.
That's
I
dope.
made that. Um, and then the more serious ones, working as a mental health technician for all these years in the Air Force,
Mm,
I realize a lot of people go through these things and feel like nobody understands them.
wow.
It's like a lot of people that have these issues, it's like they're the only ones in the world with it.
All right.
When you start breaking it down and realizing, like, hey, because of what you went through, how you're feeling right now is totally valid. And so I think what is very important is validating those with mental health illnesses, validating those that are stuck in a violent relationship that they can't get out of.
Mm,
And you can't just leave. Like, you can't give that advice to somebody. You don't know their circumstances, and you're not living their life. So I think trying to normalize that people go through things, and just because you don't feel that way doesn't mean it's not real. So I think that that's like a big thing I want to spread. And then the joyful, peaceful paintings is it's more of like a relaxing
mm.
thing for me. Um, I really love vibrant color, and I think that's just my artistic approach to things. So that's my style.
Very cool. I do notice that you are very passionate about communicating the domestic violence. Was there something that made you be like, I want to speak out for people that are going through this, like a certain experience, or you saw something happen or heard stories? What made you go in that direction to speak about that more?
Yeah. So I mean, I sought treatment myself for mental health,
Hmm.
and like I'm very open about that because I have to share.
Yeah.
Like, hello, it's fine. I go too. So I'm done now, but it's been about a year, and I had group therapy sessions,
Okay.
and there were a lot of men and women that I have met, and in our group therapy, it was all military. So
Mm,
it was really cool. I got to speak with other military members
yeah.
and gain relationships. I still keep in touch with them today. Not going to shout them out because HIPAA, but
Yeah.
but
Great.
yeah, there were a lot of stories that were shared that just breaks my heart,
Mm,
and I just hate that these sweet people went through all of those things, and I just don't want it to happen anymore. And I know I can't change the world, but like sometimes terrible things happen to very good people for like absolutely no reason.
Mm.
And I think the only reason is that we got to meet each other. And that was like, all right, cool. Now I have a friend and we can keep up on each other and check up on one another, say like, is everything going good? And then I kind of see like, oh, they're moving on up in life. That's great. I love that. That makes me happy. That makes me have hope. So yeah, that's really why I want to speak out. Having all the patients that I've had working in mental health, I tried so hard not to cry with them sometimes because it really does break my heart. It's a heavy job. I can't do it anymore, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, it's very cool that you shared and got open about that. Even for myself, for mental health, I did therapy before as well for my past traumas. So I totally understand having someone listen to you and just understand where that pain was coming from. Again, like you said, everyone has different experiences, but I'm happy to hear that there's a community there that you can all speak to and relate to, and at least help one another out. I think that's super awesome that you're involved in that and probably still are. I wanted to ask you, what do you feel like with this whole COVID-19 happening and going on with the lockdown? What do you feel like is the biggest lesson it's taught you?
Um, I think, hmm. Well, with the lockdown, I think the biggest lesson it's taught me was like for myself, I can do anything that I put my mind to. And
Mm,
I started this whole art thing because of the lockdown.
yeah.
Um, I started getting into it more because I just had so much time and had an Amazon account. So I just
That's funny.
Amazon away. But I always told myself, like, hey, I used to love art so much. I
Mm,
don't know what happened. I really don't. And I think it was a mental block.
mm,
And after therapy, I think that's what opened it up because I ended it this year.
wow.
So I think it was a mix of therapy and then COVID lockdown. I got to just express myself again. I
Mm,
think a lot of people all over the world realize that too. Because I remember when Target first opened up and all the art supplies were gone, I was so upset. I'm like, I bet none of y'all even painted in your life. No, I'm just happy that it's like, it's become a normal thing now to create.
mm,
And I feel like
mm.
art is booming more than ever. And just learning, I don't know, learning about the entire internet community out there, about the whole artist community and how
Yeah.
supportive everyone is. So I think that was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's dope that you're mentioning the creator part was just like once lockdown happened, even for me, I started realizing what do I want to do? Because I'm in accounting, grade and all that. That's what I got my degree in. But I was like, I'm passionate about hearing other people and I wonder if there's a way to, like you said earlier, YouTube it or broadcast it.
Mhm.
Because I feel like every person has a voice. And then I'm just like, why do I want to do that? Then I'm like, oh, because when I was younger, being introverted, I feel like I didn't have a voice. Now this opportunity to give back like a public service, and I think it's awesome that you saw it that way. I feel like you have an awesome, healthy mindset coming into your art pieces and what you're trying to communicate. And it's great to see that you're trying to put out more content on your YouTube. I'm gonna put all that in the description for people that want to check out your art. I'm definitely gonna get that Apache. Am I saying pronouncing it correctly?
Alpaca.
Oh my goodness, alpaca. I'm gonna get
I
that.
could make an Apache alpaca if you. That's gonna
I mean,
be
it's like I'm obsessed with one.
yeah. Now
Um,
like it's gonna be an inside joke, and people are just gonna be like, "That's a cool alpaca," and I'll be like, "There's a story behind."
You gotta watch the podcast. That's funny. And I definitely got to help on that because I definitely believe in supporting people that are creators because I'm just like, no matter what industry it is, I'm like, I'm rooting for you. That's awesome that you are ignoring everyone that's negative and you're like, I'm going to put it out there for the world. And so definitely, I'm going to put that on there. I wanted to thank you for being on the podcast. Were there any last words or any shout outs that you want to give out before we wrap up this podcast?
No, I really want to thank you for doing this with me. This was really fun, and it was really cool getting to talk about my creative process and my art and what everything meant to me. And it's cool catching up with you after all these years.
It's so funny. Like a lot of people that are coming on here, like from middle school and stuff, like it's awesome. I'm like, man, some people are like, I'm a dad or a mom now. I'm like, that's awesome for you, and they're creating their own thing. And I'm like we're saying earlier, it's like it's so awesome to see ourselves from middle school to now, like doing great things for ourselves. And all we can do from our small community back in Los Angeles is rooting for each other and what we're doing. But thank you so much. That warms my heart because I'm like, I want to keep doing this because I love to do this. So thank you so much,
cool. And really good conversation. I hope some people get some stuff out of it. I'm really passionate about what I talk about. So, I mean, if anyone has any questions or wants me to go further into things, like Peter will put all of my descriptions in the description box. But yeah, shout out to my fam for supporting me. And my husband, number one. Yeah, go Colton. But yeah, no, this is really great. And shout out to El Sereno Middle School. Whoop! No, no, boo! No. No, we were so introverted back then.
Crazy, huh? I love the transformation from like us like being quiet now. It's just like, hey, we're gonna put ourselves out there. No shame in it. That's dope.
Isn't that crazy? Like, imagine like you now goes to the you back when we were like 12 and says, hey man, you're gonna do this. Maybe like, what are you talking about?
Crazy.
Like, what? I just want to play handball.
For real, that was big back then. I forgot about handball.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on here.
Of course, and thank you for making the time. And thank you for being on the podcast, Gwen.